Today is going to be a different video compared to the usual ones because yeah, it's COVID-19, so we can't get out. I've been wanting to do this video for quite some time now, but I never really got into it. And since it's a lockdown now, can't get out, so might as well work on it. With the title, you probably guessed it, this video is going to be about commuting in Bangalore with a bicycle. I'm going to try to organize this video in different parts, and I think I'll put some links in the description so that you can skip to the part that you might be interested in, or you can watch the whole video if you want. It might be a little long compared to the usual ones. And yeah, if you're wondering, the video in the background is one of my rides on the way home that I filmed before the lockdown happened, so from work to home. What I want to explain in this video is why I started cycling to go to work every day, like on a daily basis. And to do that, I'll talk about a few points. It's like some of the positive aspects and the negative aspects, because there are plenty also. First, I'll talk about the traffic. You might have heard already, but Bangalore was ranked #1. It's like the city, #1 worldwide in terms of congestion, in terms of traffic. So it's like the worst city you could live in. Then I'll talk about the training aspect and how I use this to train. Basically to train for my half Ironman that I completed last year. And because I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and people asking how I trained like to complete it. It's like living in Bangalore. Then I'll talk about how this enables me to visit and to discover new places in Bangalore, places that I would have not seen if I had taken the car or the bike. And that was one of the reasons why I came back in India in the first place. So this was pretty important for me. I like to commute bicycle. And finally, we'll conclude with all the dangers on the road, because there are plenty, and for this section we'll separate it in two. The first one is pollution, of course. That's one of the dangers that you don't see, but it's there. And the other one, that's when you see, it's traffic, how people drive, and also the conditions of the road. But we'll get back to that later. So before I start talking about all this, just to give you like an idea, I live in the south of Bangalore. It's on Bangalore Road, for those who know. And I work in Media, so it's pretty far, and the distance based on the road I take will vary between 17 and a half and 20 kilometers. And yeah, of course, if I decide to, I can do a lot more. But yeah, we'll get back to that later, and let's start with the first part. I don't know, let's call it Bangalore Congested City. So back in February, TomTom released its 9th edition of the TomTom Traffic Index. It basically gives details on road congestion in major cities around the world, and like ranks them. If you're interested, you can go see that website. I'll put the link in the description, as well as plenty of other links. And yeah, don't hesitate to go, it's quite interesting. But yeah, if you do decide to go see the link, wait till the end of the video, of course. In the 8th edition of this traffic index, another Indian city was leading. It was Mumbai. And last year, it had a congestion level of 65%. What's interesting is that this year, the traffic level did not change at all in Mumbai, but the city is now ranked 4th instead of 1. And that's one of the conclusions of this paper. Overall, 57% of the countries see an increase of the traffic congestion. Pune and Delhi are also in the top 10 in the 5th and 8th position. And their levels are 59% and 56% respectively. But let's not forget the main focus. We're talking about Bangalore now, #1. For its first participation in this index, it wasn't there last year. It ranked #1. And so what does that mean? Let's go through a few figures. The traffic congestion level in Bangalore is 71%. It's huge. You might not understand what it means, but we can compare it with things that will make more sense. Basically, it just means that on an average, a trip will take 71% extra time to complete, like when compared to normal traffic conditions. And these normal traffic conditions, basically it's like before 4 a.m. It's like when there's no traffic or no congestion at all. And of course, that's an average over a complete day, so that includes those normal traffic hours where there's no congestion. If you look at the office hours, if you look at the peak hours, like when people go or come back from the office, this number will reach like 100% or even more. So just to give you a better idea of what this means, it's like over a year, people will waste an average of 243 hours in traffic. Yeah, 243 hours, that's huge. And that's like a little over 10 days. That's like 2.7% of your time is wasted in traffic. Over a lifetime, you'll be wasting like around 2 years. 2 years of your life will be in traffic. This is just crazy, and once again, this is an average over the entire city. In some cases, for people who cross like the busiest areas, it might be even worse. If I take my case for example, I cross a lot of places that are really crazy. You might have heard about Silboard. It's one of the worst places, and yeah, I often cross that place. And yeah, sometimes it's perfect. It's like I just go through, no problem, and sometimes I will stay like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It's like you just get stuck. Then there's also Banagata Road, which is pretty bad. There's metro construction going on, and it's like feels like it's taking forever. Hopefully, it will complete someday. So you might be wondering where all this traffic comes from. So yeah, I went to look at a few numbers online that are available, and yeah, the trend is quite interesting. Last year in Bangalore, the number of registered motor vehicles crossed 80 lakhs. For those outside of India, 1 lakh is 100,000. So 80 lakhs is 8 million. And if you look at 10 years ago, in 2010, there were only 37 lakhs or 3.7 million cars or motor vehicles in Bangalore. Last year, to give you an idea, 1,750 motor vehicles were registered every day in Bangalore. It's crazy. And there are some projections that predict that the number of motor vehicles will cross 1 crore by 2022. Once again, if you're not in India, 1 crore is 100 lakhs, so 10 million. If you compare this with the growth of the population in Bangalore, you realize that the number of motor vehicles is growing a lot faster. And so the number of motor vehicles for 1,000 people went from 444 to 677 over 10 years. That makes a big difference on the roads. And you might think that the number of motor vehicles, it's like the growth is the same in every category, like cars, buses, trucks, bikes. But no, at the same time, you can see that the number of buses in Bangalore almost didn't change. So what could reduce traffic didn't change at all. It's like the same number of buses are there. It's between 6 and 7,000. So yeah, it's like the population is growing, but the infrastructure isn't changing that much. So yeah, people have no other option but to take their cars. Some cities around the world implement restrictions to prevent people from buying cars, or like yeah, so that they can't buy cars basically, or making it really expensive. And that could be a solution, but not really, because it's like people need to have other options to get to work, and if there's no public transport, it's complicated. In terms of infrastructure, there are plenty of things happening in Bangalore. It's like, of course, there's this metro work going on, but it feels like it's taking like ages. I have been living for more than 3 years on Banagata Road, and yeah, I see the pillars getting getting up, but it feels like it's very, very slow. Makes me think of a video that I saw last year, I think, and I think it was in Japan, and yeah, there was a sinkhole that appeared at a really busy crossing, and it's like it's huge. I'll put some pictures up, and yeah, 48 hours after, the sinkhole disappeared, everything was back to normal, and yeah, that's crazy. I know it's complicated to implement the same thing in India, but I'm pretty sure it could improve if this was considered as a real priority. There are also talks about the elevated corridor project, which could probably help, but it's like the talks are taking forever and nothing is decided yet. You might know in India, for these types of contracts, people tend to like to get a share of the contract, if you see what I mean. And before you tell me that this is like a image I have of India, a lot of corruption going on, well, it just happens that I know someone who's into the road building business. So it's a much smaller scale, but he explained how the contracts are awarded, and basically, yeah, like you have to give a share to the guy giving the contract, and that's how it is. So I'm imagining how it is at a much bigger scale with these huge projects like the elevated corridor. Anyways, so yeah, it might happen someday. We'll see. The quality of the roads, yeah, the quality of the roads is also pretty bad in Bangalore. I mean, all across India. Yeah, there are a lot of potholes, and these potholes they lead to interesting situations. There was an artist, I'll put his name up, and I think he's from Bangalore or Mysore, I'm not sure. And yeah, in 2015, he drew a crocodile on the road, like a realistic crocodile, and yeah, I'll show some pictures. It's interesting. And last year he did something else where he was dressed in a spacesuit, and yeah, it's like when you see the video at the beginning, I'll put it at the same time, but it feels like oh yeah, the guy might be on the moon, but then there's a rickshaw crossing, and you realize, yeah, no, you're in Bangalore. It's like the road is just really bad. Of course, it's not like this everywhere. There are really good roads in some areas, but yeah, there are plenty of also really bad roads. So it's fun, when you talk about this artist and stuff. But in some cases, these potholes they kill people, and yeah, that becomes a real problem. And finally, the last thing that makes the traffic even worse is the way some people drive. I'm not gonna say everyone because yeah, no, there are really good drivers too, but some people just drive really bad, and that makes the traffic so bad. But I'll get back to this in the part about the dangers on the road in Bangalore. Just to give you some numbers about these rides that I do, it's like in the morning. Usually, I leave quite early. I have to admit, so there's less traffic. But usually, it's like on good days, it will take 40-45 minutes. I don't think I did less, but yeah, 45 minutes is approximately what I can do if there's not too much traffic. On the way home, there's a little more traffic, but I usually manage around 1 hour, just above 1 hour. And so that's for 17 and a half or 18 kilometers. I did the same trips with my bike, my car, and each time it took like more than 2 hours. So yeah, you make the math. It's quite simple. It's like it's so fast, and I get a workout at the same time, so it's perfect. I know with my bike I could go faster if I take the wrong lanes, but it's like I just respect the rules, and so yeah, I stop at the red light. I don't continue, and I respect the rules. So in the end, you're stuck like the cars. You go a little faster, but not that much. Anyways, as I said, there are plenty of things that could improve the traffic in Bangalore, whether it's with regulations, with infrastructure, or even education of the drivers. And yeah, I was there in 2010. I'm here in 2020. I don't know, maybe if I come in 2030, everybody will be cycling around. It might be really nice. We'll see. We never know. Now let's get to the second section about training. Let's call it commuting, good training. So for those who follow this channel, you already know that last year I completed the first Ironman organized in India, half Ironman, and it was in Goa. It was really nice. And yeah, you can go see the video here, I'm not sure, one of the corners. And if you don't know what it is, basically it's a triathlon where you swim 1,900 meters, then you cycle 90 kilometers, and then you finish with half a marathon, you run for 21 kilometers. And people ask me after I released the video about this, how did you train? Any tips, anything? Well, I don't have many tips because the only thing I did was cycle to work. It's like I did run a little, but really, it's like I don't think it changed anything. It's mainly the bicycle that helped me complete this. So if you ask me if this was a good training, I'll say yes because I finished it. But was it optimal? Not at all. To perform better, I should have spent a little more time or a lot more time running and swimming, of course. But yeah, I didn't really have the option here. Nevertheless, I completed the race, and 2 days after, I was back on the cycle to go back to work. So yeah, pretty good. Now, to get into the details, like give you some numbers, as I said at the beginning, I live approximately 17 and a half kilometers from work. So it changes a little based on the road I take, and I tend to change quite often. But if I look at the total distance that I did since I started cycling, so back in August 2018, I was like cycling regularly. I mean, it's like I was cycling before, of course, but it's like daily. I started probably in August. And if I look at the total distance, it comes up to a little above 10,800 kilometers. That's an average of 570 kilometers per month. And I had one peak above 1,000 one month in July last year, a little before the triathlon. One problem that I see doing this, if you want to use this as a training, is the traffic. We're back at the same point. It's the traffic. Because of the traffic, you can't get really like good trainings. There were a few sections on my ride where I could go a little above 40 kilometers per hour for 1 or 2 kilometers, but then the traffic kicks in, and yeah, if I wanted to continue like at higher speeds, or if you want to do interval sessions, it's complicated. Unless, of course, you want to take more risks, not stop at the red lights and stuff like this, but that's clearly not something I was ready to do. It's like it's already dangerous enough to be on the road, on the cycle in Bangalore, that I don't want to take any extra risks. And even by being careful like this, I got in a few accidents, not like serious, of course, but yeah, just enough to remind you, be careful. So all this workout also has one downside. It's like I realized that after I started cycling, and you can see it too, that's basically when the publishing of my videos on my channel started going down. It's like I used to do one every week, and then it's like one every month, and then even less. Now you're getting one, so you shouldn't complain. Once you completed 200 kilometers over the week, it's like the weekend, it gets really tough to get up at 4 a.m. and then it's like you drive for 4 hours to see your place, visit for like 1, 2, 3 hours, and then drive back 4 hours. It's tiring, and yeah, it's just gets harder. The motivation, it's like I'm using, basically I'm using everything. All my motivation is going in the cycling. Of course, there were cases where, yeah, I still took the car and drove like even 9 hours when I went to see Chiang 2 with my son. And yeah, I did it twice because the first launch was cancelled. But yeah, I didn't regret it. For this, I really wanted to go, so I was really happy with this. Now you might wonder, do I regret doing this? Like, should I have organized differently? Well, I don't regret anything. I'm really happy about what I did. So yes, it would have been nice to grow this channel a little more and like faster, but yeah, it's also nice to get healthier. If you look back in 2018 where I did a triathlon in France, yeah, I was pretty big. Like I'll put some videos, you can see. Of course, I'm still big, but I'm in better shape. It's like I'm still lighter. I don't know if you see it, but I can feel it at least, and yeah, it feels much better. And all I did to get better was exercise more. It's like I didn't change much of my food habits, which aren't the best, but yeah, I still feel good now. And yeah, overall, I just think it's more important to get healthier than to visit more places. So yeah, to summarize on this part, uh, commuting with the bicycle got me healthier, helped me finish my half Ironman. So for me, it's mainly positive aspects. There is one downside that it's like you're a little more tired on the weekend, so you don't go out as much, or at least I don't go out as much as I used to. But yeah, at the same time, I'm using this commuting to discover new places in Bangalore, places that I would have probably not been to before, and yeah. So this brings us to the next section. I don't know, let's call it cycling slash visiting Bangalore. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but doing the exact same ride every day, it gets me bored. It's like I started taking the same road, it becomes kind of a routine, and after some time, I'm like, okay, I might as well take the bike. So to counter this, the thing I decided to do was to change my road every day. I would take a new road, even if it's just a small section that's changing. It's just a new road, and it feels like it's something new. Sometimes I get lost. Sometimes I take really long roads. But yeah, overall I'm pretty happy. And yeah, that's also one of the reasons why I came back in India in the first place. I was kind of bored of my life in France. Like everything was always the same, no surprise, nothing. Here, the Indian roads, it's the best. On the road, you'll find everything. Anything can happen, and that's what makes this like life here magic. Now look, I made a map of all the rides I did in Bangalore. Like the thick red lines are the ones that I would take the roads I took the most often, and the thinner ones are the ones I took less. And you can see on this that yeah, there are sections that come up most of the time, but I always manage to find like a smaller road, go somewhere else, make a detour, and that made basically this commuting very interesting for me. If you follow me on Strava, you already know I try to share a picture with every ride I do, like 1 or 2 pictures, and so yeah, that makes 2 pictures every day. And yeah, I try to share something like I don't know, that surprises me, that I like, or yeah, or sometimes it makes me angry, but it depends. You can look, you'll see. Of course, right now I stopped with the COVID-19 situation, but yeah, I'll get back to it pretty soon, and yeah, I hope you'll like the pictures. And by changing my timings, I can see the same place with different atmospheres. Like if I go there by night or by day, it will be completely different. The activity will be different. And yeah, overall, it's just nice to see all these yeah, different scenes. Kind of, it's like you'll see sunrise, sunset. When it's rainy, when it's muddy, smelly, when it's very dry, when it's noisy, or when it's really quiet, or when it's very green, when there's work going on, and so on. It's like so many things happening on these roads. It makes it always interesting. However happy I am doing all this, it's like I always keep in my mind that it is dangerous to be on the roads in Bangalore, especially if you're on a cycle. And yeah, this leads me to the next part of the video. Let's call it the dangers of cycling on Bangalore roads. So yeah, there is one big downside to all this, which is the danger, and there are two types of danger. There's the one you can see, so the people driving, the infrastructure, like quality of the roads, and there's one that you don't see, pollution. And I'm going to start with the pollution because it's a pretty big one here. As you probably know, the pollution in the Indian cities is one of the major health hazards. The levels of pollution that is reached in the Indian cities, it's like it beats every record. It's like every year there's a new record being beaten, and yeah, it's just crazy. And yeah, I'm talking mainly about the PM 2.5, the particle matter that are less than 2.5 microns. They're the most dangerous ones because they can, like you breathe them, they go in your lungs, and they're so thin, so small that they can go through your lungs and go into the bloodstream, which makes it pretty bad. Being exposed to high levels of these particles, it leads to an increase in the risk of developing cardiovascular or respiratory diseases and even lung cancer. So yeah, have to be careful. So yeah, let's just look at some numbers. I'm sure you already heard some of them already, but India has 21 out of the top 30 most polluted cities in the world for this index at PM 2.5, of course. And if you look in the top 50, it's 26, so more than half of the cities are in India. And when you look at the main Indian cities, it's like the numbers are not very reassuring. The World Health Organization recommends that the annual mean value of particles should be less than 10 micrograms per cubic meter of air. And we can see that we're not quite there yet. There is an improvement in 2019, and you might be thinking, oh, this is probably due to the National Clean Air Program, something like this, I forgot the exact name, and or otherwise the introduction of the cleaner petrol Bharat 6, something like this. Unfortunately, the study concludes that this is mainly due to a slowing of the marketplace. So yeah, maybe these programs will help. We'll see. Yeah, we'll probably see good results in 2020 because of this COVID-19 situation where pollution levels went down everywhere. But yeah, maybe next year, maybe 2021. When you look at the time spent in each zone, like to know if it's safe or dangerous or like a real hazard, you realize that only 10% of the time in Bangalore, or you're just below 10%, you spend in a green or blue zone, which means that it's safe. Of course, once again, you can find the links in the description for all this. You can go check on your own. There is one good news though, is that I don't live in one of these cities that are in the top 50. I live in Bangalore, and Bangalore is ranked 361. So sounds great, not that much. It's like when I compare it with another polluted city, like the other reference I had, which was Paris, I realized that in Bangalore, the levels of PM 2.5 is double it's double in Bangalore compared to Paris. And one way just to see the quality of the air that I'm breathing is to look at the masks that I use. When you look at the color, it's crazy. It's on the picture you can see a new mask, the white one, and the other one is 10 days later, 10 days of cycling. You see the change of color, it's horrible. These masks are rated to filter out the 2.5 micron particles. I don't know how good this is, if it's really the case, but and yeah, I think the change of color on the picture is mainly due to the dust and all the particles that you might find. But in any case, I'm really happy that it's on the mask and not in my lungs. And yes, before you ask, yeah, before this COVID-19 situation, I was already wearing a mask every day to go to work and to come back from work. And the days I would not wear one, or I would not have one, it's I would start coughing and I would really feel it. I would get sick, and yeah, so I'm really happy that I had these masks. And quite frankly, I'm more worried about pollution in India than about this COVID situation. Of course, I follow all the rules, the lockdowns that are set, and any rules that are applicable, yeah, for my safety, but also others. But yeah, when you look at the numbers, you realize there is a slight problem. To give you one number, it's I think it's going to be very clear. Last year, 2 million people died in India due to pollution. Yeah, 2 million. You heard it right. And that's crazy. It's when you compare it with the 8,000 or something like that deaths in India due to COVID-19, it's like you wonder why the pollution problem is not taken as seriously as COVID-19. Because 2 million deaths per year means there are more than 5,000 people dying every day due to pollution. And that doesn't include the ones that are just developing like diseases due to this, like asthma or stuff like this. So yeah, I really wonder what would happen if this pollution problem was taken as seriously as COVID-19. And it's like I don't know if they did a tracker the same way. It's like a tracker that's updated every day. Oh, 5,000 people died today. 10,000 people died today due to pollution. It's maybe things would change. I don't know. Anyways, there are programs in place. Let's see. It's too early to say if they're working, and yeah, let's just hope that in the coming years the situation will improve. Now let's get to the other danger on the roads: people. We already talked about like the road quality and the infrastructure before, and how it can become dangerous. And this is especially true during the monsoon. One technique that I found not to end up in holes is just to follow a bike, or just to like stay behind the cars where the tires are. That way you see by the behavior of the car how it's like if it goes in a hole or not. You know if you have to be careful or if you have to avoid this section. One day I remember I was following a bike and I saw like his front wheel go inside a hole, and the guy fell on the side, completely wet of course. And yeah, he was okay, don't worry. I checked, and it's like thanks to him, it's like I could avoid a big hole that I don't remember was there on the road before. So yeah, that was a good learning point for me. Of course, there will also be this moment where when it rains like this, where you'll have to put your foot on the ground and you'll be completely wet. You know, your shoes will be soaked, but it's okay. It's just water. It's like I'd rather have this than get hit by a car. So another day, also because of these holes, I had to help a rickshaw. He was stuck. Where one of his rear wheels was in a hole. It was like a sewage hole, and it was not covered. In the middle of the road, no sign, nothing, and he was stuck on this. Like one wheel was inside, the other one was up, and so it wasn't touching the ground, and he was stuck like this with people inside. So I got off the bicycle, I lifted the rickshaw, which seems surprisingly light. I don't know, it's weird. And yeah, I helped him like get the other wheel on the ground so he could get out of the hole, and yeah, he was pretty happy. These situations, you're wondering how this can happen. And yeah, all this work going on everywhere on the roads, it's like never finished. It's like leaving piles of rocks everywhere and dirt. It's like it makes it even more dangerous for us, because it's like I don't know, either the holes unattended like with the rickshaw, or also it's like people who are starting to speed just to get back inside before the like in the main traffic area, before the road gets narrower because of this work going on. And yeah, usually they start accelerating, and they don't really care what's in front of them. And it's just crazy. It's like I never understood. It's like I've lived 7 years here, and I never understood why people feel like they just need to overtake the car in front of them all the time. It feels like just everyone's driving like in a Fast and Furious movie here, and not like in the high-end race cars. No, it's like in the Indica and the Sumo and the Swift. It, it's just crazy. And yeah, just like people you would meet on the street that would be very nice. It's like once they're in the car, they become incredibly selfish. It's like there's no one else. It's just them. They can't wait. They have to go somewhere. It's like no, you just stay in line like everyone else. But no, that's not how it is. And most of the time, by trying to gain just a few meters, they make the traffic worse for everyone else. And there are like mainly like two situations that I get in quite often, and that just pisses me off, but it's just crazy. So the first one I like to call the Indian traffic lock. It happens in intersections when there's no traffic light. Also happens when there is traffic light, because it's not always respected, but whatever. At a crossing, you have to imagine like four cars coming. Nobody wants to let the other go. It's like that's how it is. Okay, why not? But then when you see that in front of you, it's like you'll be stuck in the crossing because there's a traffic jam in front of you. Then you shouldn't enter and block everyone, because it's like you'll be blocking everyone. But no, this this happens quite often where the guy will still come, and then another car comes, and then another one, and in the end, everybody's stuck. Even if there's no more traffic, everybody's stuck, and yeah, there's no solution. It's like usually it ends up with one guy coming out of his car and acting as a traffic police guy, and he'll tell, okay, this guy, but yeah, once again, he'll do this to get his car out. Once his car is out, ciao, and then the situation stays the same. It's when I'm with my bicycle. This is really nice. I just watched it, and it's fun. And yeah, the other situation that comes quite often, it's yeah, when there's a line, like a normal line, I don't know, because of a signal, because yeah, it's like just a line, just traffic, and there's always this guy, okay, this guy who thinks, why should I wait? Let the other ones wait. I'm gonna take the other lane. So he takes the wrong lane and starts. And usually these guys know that they're wrong, they shouldn't be doing this, so they start going really fast. Too bad if there are cycles coming in front. I'll get back to this a little after. Have some interesting story. But yeah, so that's one problem. The guy goes fast, and the other problem is that most of the time traffic will end up coming in front also, and so it's like the problem will just get worse, and it helps no one. It just makes the traffic worse, and these people don't understand, or I don't know, don't realize that they're making everything worse for themselves, but also for all the others. One other place where you can see this, and it's like obvious, it's when you're like at the railway crossing, when the gates close, then you'll see it's like all the cars will fill up. It's like in front of the gate. It's like there's only like one lane, one direction, but the same thing will happen on the other side. And when these two gates will open, you'll have like two walls of cars facing each other. And overall, and it's like in the end, it's like everybody will be stuck, and it will be a lot slower to start all this traffic again for everyone like to merge. And it's like if they had just stayed in one lane, it would be so much easier. So it's like so smooth. But yeah, people can't wait, and yeah, in the end they probably saved 10 meters, but at the same time they lost 1 minute because of the traffic jam. But yeah, you make the math. I don't know. It's like for me it's obvious, but not for everyone. And then it's like when I see people complaining, oh, the traffic in Bangalore is so bad. It's like, yeah, but it's like I know how you drive, so it's like you're part of the traffic and you're making it worse. So please don't complain. It's like improve the way you drive, and then we can complain about infrastructure. We can complain about a lot of other things, but start driving normally, and we'll see after if it's still the same way. Anyways, I feel bad, but it's like I can't really do anything. I'm helpless with this, and I don't really care in the end, because I'm on my bicycle, and when there's too much traffic, I can just lift my bicycle and walk on the sidewalk. When I see this kind of behavior, it's like I'd like to do something, but on my bicycle, it's too dangerous. It's like the guy in a car will not really care about you. When I'm in a car, though, it's much more interesting, and yeah, I'm not frustrated anymore. I'm just laughing, because all I have to do is slow down and block the guy behind, and then he'll get pissed, because he won't be happy. He'll be like, oh, why is this guy blocking me? In the end, he's not losing any time. He's not wasting anything, because it's like in front there's a traffic jam, so he won't go faster anyways. So but yeah, so I'm laughing in my car. The guy behind is usually pissed. Yeah, I like that. And now just let me tell you a few situations where I just lost it, and got really angry, and yeah, broke a few mirrors. Like let me explain. Like one morning, okay, I was going to work, and okay, you have to know first that I had like that morning already a few situations where I thought cars were gonna end up hitting me, and I got pretty pissed. So back on this trip, I was just riding. There was a huge traffic jam. It's on the road next to Malibala Lake. For those who know, there's always traffic jam there, and I was just going between the sidewalk and the lane of cars. There was space for me to go, so perfect. I could just go straight, and then I reached like a crossing. It's like there's still this line of cars not moving on my right, and on the left there's a lane that comes. There, same thing, traffic jam, lots of cars, and there's this taxi driver. I'm laughing because taxi driver, it's like it's their job to drive well, but no, it's like none of them do. So, anyways, so I see this driver. He's there. He can't go anywhere because there's this line on the right. This lane of cars that's not moving, and everybody's like there's a few centimeters between each car so that nobody can get in between. I mean, you know how it is in Bangalore or in India, and you know how it is. And there's this guy. It's like I look at him, he looks at me. It's like we make this eye contact. You know, it's very important, eye contact, just so that we both acknowledge that we saw each other. And there's still space for me to go between his car and the lane, so I can continue straight. And so I know he saw me, and he knows I saw him. And I start going, and this guy, I have no idea why, he starts going forward to close the gap, and he hits my bike. He hits the rear wheel, and bends it. So it's like I look at him, and it's like you would expect him to be, oh, sorry, sorry, like it happens. It's like a mistake, but no, the guy started shouting at me as if it was my fault. It's like he had nowhere to go. He was stuck. There was nothing else to do. But no, he just wanted to close the gap. I don't know why on me, but so I just jumped on his hood and hit his windshield. Just one hit, and I feel bad now, but yeah, not that much at that time. I think his windshield was already broken because yeah, I'm strong, but not that strong. And it's like just hitting his windshield. I hit pretty hard, but it's like suddenly it's like the whole windshield was covered. It's like it completely broken. It's like I don't know, there may be some sheet inside, so it's like it didn't fall apart, but it was like completely broken. I don't think he could see through it anymore. So yeah, I just left, and yeah, probably not the best thing to do, but yeah, I just left, and at least I was really quiet for the rest of the ride. Calmed me down quite a lot. Of course, it doesn't always end like this. I smashed a few mirrors, like a lot of mirrors actually. It's like for like really idiot drivers. It's like really dangerous for me, but even for other people. Yeah, one day, one day, I saw a guy who I think he's a genius, or he thought he was a genius. He found like a way to avoid all the traffic jam. So his technique was what? Instead of like being stuck in the traffic jam like everyone, he took the other lane but went reverse, as if he's going in the. It's like he's facing the correct direction but going in reverse. So and overtaking everyone. Why not? I don't care. He can do this. But then I would expect him to be careful with the people coming like towards him. There were no cars. It was only me. The road was not that big, and yeah, the guy went in reverse really fast and not slowing down at all. Even though I was like right behind him, I have my lights on, I have everything, so he can't see me. But no, not slowing down. And so yeah, at the last moment, I have to avoid him, and it's like I don't have that much space. The guy's just crazy, and so yeah, what do? I just punch his mirror. His mirror like completely breaks, and yeah, I feel better. The guy gets really pissed. I'll get back to this after. It's like call the police and everything, but it's not the only time. So I'll tell you right after. Before, I'll tell you about another time where a guy decided to overtake a car in front. It's like a two lane. There were two lanes. Okay, my direction, the other direction, and the guy in front decided to overtake the car that was in front of him, even though there was a signal like 20 meters after. So he wasn't going to save anything. It was just useless. And so he starts overtaking, and he doesn't slow down at all. It's like I'm right in front of him, and I again see he's not slowing down at all. So it's like I have to avoid him last second, like before. And but this this time I was like I see it again. I can almost see it like in slow motion. How when I punch his mirror, it's like he had like a luxury car, so it felt even better. It's like these guys often with really high-end cars feel like, okay, I have a really nice car, so people should let me go. No, no, you have the same rules as everyone else, so just follow them. So yeah, I remember it's like I broke one finger on this, but it was really worth it. It's like I remember like the glass shatter and it's like fly everywhere on the road. So yeah, as I said a little before, multiple times, like people stopped, started shouting at me, and each time my only solution, it's like I just called the cops. It was always the same thing. I called the cops. The cops would come. We would wait like 30 minutes for them to come. It's like we would waste time, both of us. But never mind. The cops would come and they would tell me, "Oh no, you shouldn't take this matter into your hands. You should make a complaint." I say, "Okay, no problem. I'll pay for the mirror. I'll pay for it right now. But you show me the fine that you're gonna give him." And they say, "No, no, no. You have to file a complaint." I say, "Yeah, I want to file one right now. Please give him a fine. I want to see him pay his fine." And then, no, no, okay, go, 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 sir. And that's how it would end all the time. The guy would just let me go, and the guy would leave with this broken mirror, and he would have to pay it on his own. I really don't mind paying for the mirror. Really, I was ready to do it, but I just want the guy to understand why I broke his mirror. It's not like I do it for fun. It's like because I really felt like my life was threatened, and it came really close. It's like I mentioned at the beginning, I had a few accidents. I ended up in the middle of the road with people going on both sides, really crazy, because I got hit by cars or by bikes a few times, and yeah, it's not that fun. And so yeah, these cops not doing anything, it's one thing that pisses me off, and it's like yeah, it feels like they have no authority. It's like countless times I saw like cops trying to stop a bike or even a car, and the car or the bike not stopping at all. All they have is that little bamboo stick, and the bikes just go, the cars just go. Nobody's stopping. It's like yeah, some people are stopping, and it's like yeah, a lack of authority, and they just don't do anything. It's like the guy will leave. Okay, too bad. They'll try to take a picture with their phones or something, and yeah, that's for the cops that are doing something. A lot of the times, I'll see cops also on their phones, sitting in their cars, doing nothing on the side of the road, or yeah, even standing with their phones. I don't know what they're doing, but it's like they're not. It's like people at signals. People won't respect any rules. They won't stop at the red lights. They'll just go. They'll take directions that they're not supposed to go. And the cops are just yeah, they're just looking. Nothing's happening. I don't know. And yeah, that's one thing that's kind of worrying. And it's like yeah, you can tell me okay in India that's how it is. Usually you shouldn't compare this with France or wherever you're from, whatever. But yeah, I don't really accept this. It's like, yes, that's how it is in India, but it shouldn't be. You have rules, you have the same rules. It's almost exactly the same as the rules that we have in France. So don't tell me, no, that's how it is. No, you have the rules, you're not following them, that's all. And no, you should follow them. That's the thing. Anyways, there are plenty of issues in the driving here, and the problem is you can't really blame the drivers. It's like most of them, they've been taught to drive like this. They've seen it since they're a child, and it's been like this forever. So yeah, that's how it is. And the problem is also in the like driving license. A couple of years back, I paid for my wife's driving license, and we went in a pretty good place. I wanted her to get good lessons. It's like I asked as a joke, oh, do you also have ties with the RTO to get the questions before the test? They said, yes, yes, of course, sir. It's like, no, that's not the answer I wanted to hear. I wanted her to pass a real test. But no, it's like, yeah, and I also know quite a lot of people who didn't do any test, any driving test or written test. They just had to show up and sign a few papers. That's all they had to do, and they got their license. And this is quite scary when you're on a bicycle, like kind of helpless on the road. You know you're surrounded by people who don't have experience, think they have experience, and yeah, are just dangerous for everyone else. So yeah, there are plenty of things that could improve and that need to improve on the roads. And yeah, I'm sure in 1 or 2 generations things will get better probably. So to conclude on this video, what can I say? It's like yeah, commuting. I definitely encourage everyone to try it. To I don't know, make it a habit. It's good for your health if you wear a mask, of course. But yeah, it would be good for your health. It's like you save time if you live far, or yeah, even if you live close. Money, because I didn't talk about it, but yeah, you don't pay any fuel. Maybe you eat a little more to fuel your body, but it's probably not as expensive as petrol. So yeah, you save money, you save time, you get better. It's like yes, there's one major drawback, which is danger, but yeah, you have to see what works for you, and I would encourage it. At least for me, it worked out pretty well for a year and a half now, and yeah, let me know about you if it worked for you. I'm also happy because 2 of my colleagues started cycling, or it's like more than what they used to, and yeah, I'm happy about this, changing a few habits. For those who are still watching up to now, thanks, really nice. And yeah, consider subscribing if you didn't. You can like the video if you did, and yeah, share it even if you want, like to promote this commuting by bicycle in Bangalore. And yeah, now just stop watching, get on your bicycle, and start riding. Okay, see you next time. Bye.